Let's go to this other issue of China. You and I have talked about Biden raiding the strategic petroleum reserves to solve the American energy crisis. I think we mentioned last week 5 million barrels of oil reserves have gone overseas while Americans suffer at home. Peggy, how big an issue is this? I mean, what are the American people saying about the report that 950,000 barrels of the oil evidently went to a communist Chinese state-owned oil and gas company with ties to Hunter Biden? I mean, it's been Donald Trump. The whole world would be on fire.
Of course. Well, none of this is new and none of it is news because everybody knows that Hunter Biden was compromised by China. Everybody knows that the big guy, Joe Biden, was getting kickbacks. And everybody knows that this is not an America First policy. They're endangering America because they're making people wonder, is Joe Biden compromised? What do the Chinese know? And how is he affiliating with them in a way that is causing him to make decisions? What was the decision making on the release of the strategic oil reserve? And can we trace the origins of it? Did it go through natural process and procedure? And if not, we need to know why. He's endangered us all. This is not a good decision, and he needs to answer for it.
I mean, the American public believed that raiding the petroleum reserves, which was wrong in the first place, that's what they are, reserves, was intended to lower gas prices at the pump for Americans. And Biden said it would, quote, address the pain Americans are feeling at the pump and fight back against, quote, Putin's price hike. But nearly 1 million barrels have gone to a Chinese state-owned outfit, Sinopec, a company entirely owned by the Chinese Communist Party, and reports say that Hunter Biden's equity firm has reportedly purchased a $2 billion stake in Sinopec in 2015. What coverage is this getting in America?
Well, not enough, because if people knew the truth and knew the facts, they would be not only concerned, but they would be outraged, because the pain that we're feeling at the pump is not Putin's fault. It's not COVID's fault. It's Joe Biden's fault. And the American people know that. Joe Biden and his administration can try to spin this and explain this and blame this away, but the American people know better. And let's remember that this was the same group of people that, without evidence, accused Trump of being an agent of China. And now there's overwhelming evidence that Joe Biden actually does have ties to China, along with his son, and nobody's reporting on it.
Absolutely. Americans are paying more than $5 a gallon at the pump, while the president's son is invested in a company that's buying America's strategic reserves. Didn't we have an impeachment hearing about a phone call between Donald Trump and President Zelensky? Do the self-righteous now believe some questions should be asked in Congress as to how the Biden family may well be profiting while American people are suffering?
Well, Congress absolutely should be looking into this, and the American people should be demanding that Congress does. We need answers. Why was this decision made? Is Joe Biden compromised? And if so, he is making us very dangerous. There's no scenario under which they could look at the facts, look at the evidence, look at what's happening in the U.S. and the pain of the American people, and decide that the best use of this oil would be to give it to China. There's no equation that adds up to that.
I know. And you made the point before, all of this problem is of Biden's making. In a debate with the fellow Democrat Bernie Sanders, and you know I'd mentioned this before, but it's worth saying it again, running for president in 2020, Biden said, no more drilling on federal lands, no more drilling, including offshore, no ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. Now he's releasing petroleum reserves to the rest of the world. Is Biden going to get away with this?
Well, nobody wants to cover it because they don't want to have to take action. But it even gets worse than that. Joe Biden is blaming the consumers that were using too much gas, or he's blaming the gas station owners, saying you're just charging too much. He knows nothing about supply and demand. He knows nothing about basic economics. Clearly has never run even a small business and should not be running the United States of America.
Absolutely. The New York Republican congressman, I mentioned this to our viewers, Andre Garbarino, observed by dishing it up to Biden, he said, in November 2020, a barrel of oil was $43 a month. Before Putin invaded Ukraine, it was $87.